welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. And today I'm in the county of Wicklow at Powerscourt. And if you think that the similar sounding whiskey comes from this distillery, then you are wrong, because this here is not the distillery of Powers, but it's actually for the Fercullen whiskey. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about the estate, because the estate is really old. And it was back in the 13th century when the Normans actually attacked England and they invaded, and they actually then got granted, a family of invaders got granted this Wicklow county as their seat, and they built the Powerscourt. They were called Le Power, so they changed into English, Le Powerscourt. So it was their court. So it's actually kind of a Norman name or French name, Le Power. So, but it's Powerscourt now. And it stayed Powerscourt over the years. Until now, it's still called Powerscourt. And in the 15th century, they do have some writings from back then, and they do have a lot of writing about what happened here. And it is written that there was a lot of ushkeba and a lot of drinking of ushkeba, especially the drinking of ushkeba was mentioned here at Powerscourt. So they do believe that there was illicit distilling here at the Powerscourt, but there is no official mention of a distillery here, so you never know if there was the oldest distillery of Ireland here at Powerscourt or not. But they were drinking a lot of whiskey back in the days here. And later in the 16th century, it got bought by Richard Wingfield, the first Viscount of Wicklow, and he actually had the family seat here for 350 years, and somewhere in 1730, 31 or something like that, he actually built these beautiful gardens. They have 47 hectares of gardens here. They're beautiful Italian gardens, and they were rated by National Geographic as the third most beautiful formal garden in the world, just after Versailles and London. So this is really something here. So this is a very beautiful garden, and it is open to the public, so you can pay your entrance. There's restaurants, there's cafes, there's beautiful gardens, there's a golf club, there is the distillery that we're going to visit later. It was in the 1960s, it was bought by the Schlesinger family, and they are actually, they are the owners now. In 74, it actually burned down, and they renovated it, rebuilt it, and in 1993, it actually got reopened, so in the state that it is now, but it is in a really good state, as they are the third most beautiful formal garden in the world. So, then later, the distillery actually did open in the 2000s, I think 2018 or 19, somewhere around there. And now, let's get into the distillery and find out how they make their whiskey. The Powerscourt estate is not just the gardens, but they do actually have some estate around the distillery, and they can actually grow barley on there. They use about 10 tons per year, and they use it in unmalted stage, because if you'd harvest it and malt it, then you'd have to go to the malters and have to look that only your batch comes to you. So they do it in unmalted state for their pot still whiskey. They use about 70% malted barley for their single malt, and 70% of their stuff they're making is single malt, 100% unmalted, unpeated barley. And then we have 30% that is then pot still whiskey with malted barley, unmalted barley, and a bit of the mash bill as well. And that is then differentiated between the mash tun and the semi-lauter tun. For the single malt, you can use the semi-lauter tun as the mash tun as well. It works really well because all of the malt has a lot of enzymes in it. It's really a simple process. For the pot still with the unmalted grains in there, you have to have a more specialized mash tun that does the mashing, and with different temperatures, with a bit of stirring, and with a bit more sophisticated for pot still whiskey. And then the lautering is done at the big semi-Lauterton. What is then also very interesting is the yeast that they are using is currently a brewer's yeast, but they're trying to capture a very local yeast from their gardens. Yeah, so they're going around the garden, taking samples, working together with a university to grow it and then give it to a yeast supplier. The yeast suppliers are really, they have one yeast strain and they have to multiply it and keep it very straight. So, but you have to get the local yeast that is actually good. So the university gets the yeast, looks at the yeast, is a good yeast and can we use it, and then fermenting and have a look at the taste and all that kind of stuff. The current yeast they are looking at is from their orchard, and they have a bit of bees around there, beehive, and you can take then the yeast from the bees, and it should be, they hope this is a really nice fruity yeast that they can use. And yeah, that is something they're looking into the future, and I hope they succeed in that, because that is really a cool idea to have your very local yeast in your process at your local distillery. The distillery has 4 wash bags, 2 of them with 25,000 liters capacity and 2 of them with 12,500 liters capacity. And what the distillery does is actually they ferment quite long, with 100 to 120 hours, depending on how the shifts are lying. And what this does with a brewer's yeast and 100 hours, they are looking for a very fruity, fresh fruity character. So it's the classical pears and green apple that they are looking for. And this creates the flavors that can then be distilled into the whiskey. It is the bottleneck, so they are thinking about, if they want to increase the production, they have to bring in 2 new ones. They do have space for it, or they actually can double these up to double the capacity like the others behind them, and that would also give them a lot of more production capabilities. The distillery has 3 pot stills, and they are doing usually the triple distillations. During 2 weeks of experimentation, or 2 to 3 weeks of experimentation, they did double distillation. They can do different cuts, and yeah, it's experimenting, so that gives them a lot of room. But the usual procedure, they have 12,500 liters of volume in the wash still, 8,500 in the intermediate, and 5,500 in the spirit still, and they're coming out with 1,200, 1,300 liters of new make per batch. And yeah, so they're trying to make a triple distilled, really classical, nicely fruity spirit. So it's really green apples, pears that they're looking after. And with triple distillation, it makes it really smooth. They had a look through the experiments, and with pot still in the double distillation, they really like the pot still double distill, because it's kind of oily and has a lot of flavor to it, and that really works well. So they thought about, they can actually expand another pot still in here, or they can change out bigger pot stills. They still have the space for that. They kind of pre-planned for that. So they're not bound by any history-long tradition, so they could change in the future if they wanted to. But currently, they're doing it as the normal process. And let me get a little bit into the wash still process. And usually, you say you don't have any cuts on the wash still, which is true, it's not a cut, but you still want to separate your alcohol from the pot ale. So what you do is you turn on your wash still, it starts to boil, and the lightest alcohols rise first, and your alcohol level slowly starts gradually to go down. And as soon as it hits 0, you just shut it off. And it then cools down, a little bit of water will be boiled, and that is then pot ale, and that is to be disposed. But here at the distillery, they don't dispose it immediately. The pot ale is still very hot, and hot stuff has energy in it, so they're really about energy conservation here. So they take the pot ale out, they put it through a heat exchanger to heat some other water, and then you have hotter water that you don't have to heat as much in other processes where you need hot water, like the mashing or something like that. So there's a lot of energy conservation going on with within the distillation. And that is really something, because back in the days you had steaming chimneys up on top of the distillery. I think nowadays you don't have that anymore, because everything that is steaming actually gives off energy and is lost to the environment. And we don't want that. We want energy conservation, so everything is kind of energy recycled, and this is really the straight way forward. And yeah, so with the new make that is fresh and fruity, then we're going off into the casks. I'm here in their first warehouse on site, on the estate, where they actually do the cask filling and they store all their special kind of casks. Let's talk about the normal cask. They do have 3 warehouses off-sites. 2 of them are full with 5,000 casks each, and 1 of them is half full, and they have a permission to build another warehouse that they can fill with 5,000 casks. So they're currently still in the stage of building cask stock. They're filling some of their stock for their limited range of their own malt already, but the intake into the stock is still a lot larger than the outtake. And yeah, let's talk about these special casks here, because we have some kind of like a founder series here where a lot of people were able to invest into the company when it started up. So they got casks for that. And some of them, I'm not quite sure how many of them have been emptied, but I'm not quite sure. Probably very, very few of them, as they are a bit younger. This was the founders thing, but you can still buy casks here for the cask estate. And it ranges between 7,000–8,000 euros for I think a 10-year maturation of new make at their warehouses. And you can even go up to single malt from other distilleries that they purchased earlier, up to 21, 22, 3, 4, 5, somewhere around there. Maybe you have to wait 1 or 2 years to buy this, and you can actually you have to pay a lot of money for that. So they are interested in people buying whole casks from them, but they also bottle their own stuff that we're going to see later. And as I said, they fill, first of all, everything into bourbon casks, and then they do finishing. Here in this warehouse, you see a lot of these finishing casks. You have a lot of ex-wine casks, fortified wine, sherry, port, the usual fortified wines. And then you do also have a bit of quarter cask up there. I think they're fresh quarter casks, and the taller quarter casks, they are actually quarter casks from Islay. So it's an ex-Islay quarter cask. You can think of a distillery that does that quite regularly. So that is also one of these experiments I was talking about. So yeah, they are still trying to find a little bit what we can do different in the future, as they are a bit of a younger company. Yeah, so this is where they mature their stuff, and as of Ireland, it is very, very mild climate, so everything is maturing in a very slow and easy way. So this was it with the production, and now I'm sitting here with John Cashman. You've been 4 years with the company, but what was it, 28 years with a whiskey industry?
Correct.
So thank you very much for having us here at the distillery.
My pleasure. I'm delighted to have shown you around today, and looking forward to see what you think about our whiskies now in the next few minutes.
Yeah, it's such a lovely place. It's really a tourist attraction, you have to say, and it's just a lot of things to do. I think you can like have a family and spend the whole day.
Yeah, you could look at us as like a day centre for husbands. So family can come, and kids and wife can run around the gardens or go to the garden centre, and the husband can go maybe for a round of golf and then come here and try some whiskey.
Oh yeah, nice. So we're looking at Fercullen. I've not talked about the mountain. Is it anything? Is it like the highest mountain around here? Or?
No, the name Fercullen comes from the land here. Before it was known as Powerscourt, the lands were known as Fercullen, which literally means the men of the mountains. And in the old ancient Irish language, back in 8th century and 7th century, the Sugarloaf Mountain, which is the mountain that you would have seen in some of the clips and the videos that you have, and that was known as O'Coolon. So Fercullen is the English version of Fercullen, which means men of the mountain. So all the land here from the coast, from the sea, all the way over to the south part of Dublin City was all known as the lands of Fercullen. So we used that as our brand name, and then took the mountain itself, the Sugarloaf Mountain, which is instantly recognisable in Ireland. Anyone driving down the east coast of Ireland, you see that mountain on your right hand side. It's not a particularly big mountain. You can climb it very easily. Like my 8-year-old can get up there, you know. And you'll get up there in half an hour. So it's not a very big mountain.
Half an hour? Okay.
Yeah, it's not a big mountain.
It's a hill.
But it's brilliant views, and because it is the first mountain in that Wicklow Mountain range, it's instantly recognisable. Very almost like the perfect shape for a mountain, you know. So that's why it's become, the symbol, and we use it in all of our products. But also a lot of other companies in County Wicklow, where we are, will also use that. It's kind of like the symbol of County Wicklow.
Oh, okay, nice. So talking of your product, so is this like part of the product range, or how big is the product range?
Yeah, so these are 4 of our core whiskies. So we have our core range, and then we have limited releases from time to time. So our core range is the blended whiskey, which is Fercullen Falls, our single malt, which is Fercullen Single Malt, our 15-year-old grain whiskey, which was named the world's best grain whiskey at the World Whiskies Awards, and then we also have a 21-year-old. Single malt, which is sourced liquid from Cooley Distillery. And then we have limited releases. So the 4th whiskey we'll be trying today, which is our Gates, which is the final in our Estate series range of whiskies, which were whiskies that were inspired by our home, by the Powerscourt estate. And and you mentioned about the tourist side of it and a visitor attraction, and that was important to us, to have this home for our whiskies. You get a lot of brands today that are sourced liquids that don't have their own home. We have our home, we have our visitor centre, we have our means of production as well. So everything is under our control, and it's important in County Wicklow that attracts so many visitors, both from the United States and all over the world, who come here, to have something where they can come in, see what we're about, and try our whiskies, and that's why we have this amazing building.
Okay, so the first one is the Falls.
Correct. Okay. So Fercullen Falls is our blended whiskey, and the majority of Irish whiskies, over 94% of all Irish whiskies, are blended. And what makes this different, when we were coming up with this idea, is I wanted to focus on the malt, because we predominantly make malt whiskey here, as you would have seen in the video earlier. So this is 50% malt, which is a very high malt content for a blended whiskey. And then the other 50% is grain whiskey that I've sourced from John Teeling in the Great Northern Distillery. And I've sourced 2 different types of grain whiskey, some of which has matured in ex-bourbon barrels, and others have matured in heavily char fresh oak barrels. So from the heavy char fresh oak barrels, I'm looking for burnt sugars, caramel, toffee type flavours. From the ex-bourbon barrels, the grain and the ex-bourbon, I'm looking for vanilla, I'm looking for creaminess. And then from our own malt whiskey in the ex-bourbon barrels, I'm looking for that green fruit, apples, pears, and the spice of the malt itself coming through. So on the nose, it's very sweet. You can definitely pick up the sweetness of the caramel and the toffee. You can also get some of that green fruit coming through, but also the spice of the malt itself is there in the background.
It feels a little bit like a fruit cake.
Exactly.
It feels a little bit like grandma's fruit cake.
Yeah.
has that baking tone, malty, creamy, plus what you said. And the thing is, with the fruitiness in the fruit cake, it's really like the first fruit cake of the season.
That first taste. But it was made to be a really versatile whiskey. I didn't want to alienate traditional whiskey drinkers who drink whiskey straight, but I was also very conscious of the fact that majority of people today, young people drinking Irish whiskey around the world, are drinking it in long drinks with a mixer or in a cocktail. So that's why we decided to bottle it at 43%. So a little bit higher than your standard 40, so it would stand up in a cocktail. But also, as I said, for someone drinking it straight like you are, you could still really enjoy the flavours that are coming through on the whiskey without being too strong.
Okay. First it starts off very easy, like the typical triple distilled Irish, and then a little bit hits you with a little bit more volume, and what you said with the spiciness, and there's all around a bit of fruitiness going on with a good amount of sweetness. And it's a well-rounded, nice, easy whiskey. I think beginner's whiskey is good for.
Yeah, it's a nice texture as well. For me, you know, when people are talking about whiskies, they always talk about, you know, nose, taste, finish. But for me, the mouthfeel is just as important. And with this, with that, even when you look at it, you can see the legs appearing. You know, nice thick, nice unctuous, lots of oils and good mouthfeel with this whiskey. So, I wanted something that would be really, really easy to drink. And something that you wouldn't be afraid to mix with whatever your favourite mixer it be, ginger ale or in a highball with good sparkling water.
Yeah, I think this is a nice drink to relax, have it on the side, have it with your friends, show it a beginner. I think that is a good purpose whiskey.
Brilliant. And the name, of course, Fercullen Falls, it's inspired by the waterfall here in Powerscourt, which is Ireland's highest waterfall. So that's why this label, and it's kind of looks like the water coming down in the waterfall. And also the label itself looks very different to our other traditional labels. And the reason for that was because this was the first using our own whiskey, so I wanted it to look different. There was no point just doing the same again. I didn't want to trick a consumer. If a consumer sees this and they go, Fercullen, I recognise the brand, but Falls and the label looks different, what's different about it? Well, it's different because it's using their own liquid. So this contains 50% all whiskey made in Powerscourt and the other 50% sourced.
And what I also like is with your bottles that you have your own bottle.
Yeah,
you have the Powerscourt Distillery molded into the glass at the bottom here, and you also have the mountain.
The mountain on the front.
Molded in
and
there.
we are actually going, and here's an exclusive for you, we're going a step further. So we're changing our bottles. We're reducing the amount of glass in the bottle, reducing that by 30%. But we're keeping the mountain. We're keeping Powerscourt here, and the punt of the bottle, so the part that goes in at the bottom, that's going to be in the shape of the Sugarloaf Mountain. So that's so when you put it in, it'll be like one of those snow globes, and you look in it, and you'll see the mountain in there as well. So that'll be coming down the line. That'll be available in Germany in 2026. So next year.
Next year.
You'll see that bottle coming through.
That is really nice. I've had a little talk in the warehouse with you, so you can actually buy casks here. And can you tell me a little bit more? What do you need to bring, or what do you need to do to get a cask?
So we have a program called the Cask Estate, and Cask Estate is the premium version of all of our whiskies. So anything in the future that we're releasing that's going to be 25 years and older will be under a sub-brand called Cask Estate. But Cask Estate is also an opportunity for an individual or a company or a bar to purchase their own individual cask of whiskey. And the casks that are available range from new make whiskey, made here on site, which could be award-winning single malt whiskey, or indeed our pot still whiskey, which we are yet to release. And within the pot still, there's different mash bills as well that you could choose. You could choose something with oats, you could choose something with rye, you could choose something with chocolate malt or amber malt, or all these different styles of experimental mash bills. So that's one option, so new make whiskey. And then we also have our sourced liquid that we purchased back in 2017 to allow us to launch whiskey at the very beginning. So the malt versions of that are now maturing, and they're all in their 20s, some of which will be turning 25 December of this year. And they're available to purchase as well. So essentially you have everything from an €8,000 barrel of new make whiskey with 10-year maturation, all the way up to a 25-year-old single malt, maybe finishing an Amarone cask, which is obviously the price is on application. You come to us and we'll get the price for you. But roughly you're looking at anything from €8,000, maybe up to €100,000. And that will give you your own barrel, your own cask, and some maturation time. And then we will help you with the bottling process, and we'll have preferred bottlers that we will use that will give good rates on bottling and help you with the labels, because it's very technical to get a label designed. All those types of things will be part of the program as well. So the room we're in right now, and all the bottles that you see behind us here lit up, are all actual samples from some of those barrels that are available to purchase. So somebody can come in here, look through the portfolio and say, yes, I want that 24-year-old Amarone finished single malt we'll reach up on a shelf, we'll grab the bottle, we'll sample it and try it. So this is open to the public as well for people to come in here. They can come in and get this cask estate tasting for €400. Get to sample the different whiskies, a selection of 4 different cask samples, and then ultimately if they decide to purchase a barrel, that'll be taken off the price.
So this is like the entry window to getting one of these casks. Exactly. You have the tasting, and then you look for the casks that you want. Okay, so
and then when you have your cask, we'll make a cask head that'll be on display, and it's in the distillery. You can come and visit it, get your picture with it, you know, all those types of things, and then obviously get samples of it. And if it's a prestige cask, straight away we will take a sample out of it to be put into a bottle, which is yours. It'll be the only sample ever taken out of that cask at that time, and then 2 years later you can bottle it and see how it's changed.
Oh, very, very nice, very nice. I like it. So the next one is
our single
malt.
Yes, so this is our Fercullen single malt, and this was the first whiskey made in County Wicklow legally in over 100 years. Important to say legally. So this whiskey is 100% malted barley, all distilled here on site in Powerscourt and matured here on site. The water source is obviously our own water source, the aquifer underneath the distillery, which is pure mountain water running down from the mountains that surround us. So the label on this was to reflect Wicklow and reflect the Wicklow Mountains. And if you travel up over the mountains in Wicklow, these are the colours you're going to see: the greens, the moss, the lichen, the grey granite coming through on it. So all of this reflects our home in County Wicklow. So this is, as I said, distilled here on site, and as you saw in the video earlier, our fermentation process is quite long. And as a result, a lot of the flavours that are coming through are full of fruit, real fruity flavours. And this one can very much be described as apples. And think of apple pie. You know, you've got the pastry crust, you've got the baking elements coming through on it, but then you've got that sweet stewed apple. Think of strudel. Think of apple strudel coming through. Some of the dried fruit elements in it as well. So very much on this. When we first made it and was first bottled, Paul, our master distiller and blender, came to me with some tasting notes, and one of it was, he said it reminded him of his grandmother's kitchen on a Sunday afternoon. I said, well, that's a bit extreme there, Paul. And he goes, no. He says every time he visited his grandmother on a Sunday afternoon, she would make apple pie, apple tart, and this was the aroma he was getting from this whiskey.
You do have a lot of that apple and these fresh fruits and a little bit of maltiness going on, like that cake feeling or that pie feeling. But then you also a little bit of a spicy, like a cinnamon note that works really well with apple. So I like that spicy note is just really like working well, like a little bit of, not cloves, they're too hard for that. Like I do have that little bit of a cinnamon note there going on there. A little bit of not nutmeg, maybe a hint of ginger, but not as sharp as ginger. And I like it.
This whiskey's not the finished article yet. I mean, what we have in the glass here is probably 4 to 5 years of age. I'd imagine this will finish up somewhere between 4 to 6 years of age. So what we're bottling this year will contain some 6-year-old liquid. And then,
okay, so it is a bit changing.
Yeah, it is changing slightly. And then we'll stop. So I would foresee this whiskey to be a 4 to 6-year-old whiskey. I don't want to go above 6-year-old because then you're getting too close to double digit, whereby we will release a double digit version of this in the future. But despite it being a work in progress, this was named Ireland's best new whiskey at the Irish Whiskey Awards last year. And then the International Wine and Spirits competition gave this 98 points out of 100. It was the highest marks ever given to a new Irish whiskey. And for something that was 4 to 5 years of age, getting 98 points out of 100 is something we're very, very, very proud of. So,
It's more spicy and has more oomph to it than I was expecting. When you have it in the nose, you think about this is going to be a triple distilled, nice, easy. But when you have it in your mouth, you do have a bit of spiciness, a little bit of the ginger note, there's a bit of a cinnamon note going through, a lot of fruitiness and a lot of maltiness going on as well. I like it. It's a well balanced one. This is Yeah, this is in between, I would say. It's a nice on the side whiskey, but you can also sip it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
you can sip it with friends and talk a little bit about it. But it's also a nice side whiskey. It's not too demanding.
No, it's not. It's one that you'll sit and sip. You're not thinking about it too much. Just sipping away with this whiskey. So yeah, we're very, very happy with its response. As I said, people seem to really, really enjoy it, and it's doing well for us. So, but work in progress. And by this year, we'll have it where I want it to be, and then hopefully in a few years' time, release. We do have a cask strength version of this available now.
Okay.
And in the future get a double-digit version. Release it as a 10 or 12-year-old.
So you want to expand in the core range with age statements then?
Yes,
Okay.
in due course, while keeping the core non-age statement products, but also have limited release age statements in the future.
Okay, nice. So talking about the future, we had the talk about the yeast, and you want to capture the very local, not just the state, but very local yeast. And is then the old yeast being phased out? Is it gonna change the product, or
possibly? We don't know yet because we haven't. We don't have it to experiment with yet. We're still at the production stage. Though in the next few months, it will be moving from the university to actually a yeast company who will be able to propagate it on an industrial scale for us to be able to use. So time will tell is the only answer. Will it change the flavour? Perhaps. Will we use it universally across all whiskies? More than likely not. We'll probably initially use it for specific releases, so have a state specific whiskey. So perhaps the 10 ton of barley that we get from the estate, perhaps we'll go and we'll malt that, and we'll do an estate single malt. Now it'll be very limited release.
that would be very grain to glass?
Oh, very much so, very much so. And then with the oak that we have seasoning in the Champagne region right now, which is not from the estate, but from close to the estate, that we will have everything from barley, yeast, water, and oak, all from the same region, for a very uber estate release whiskey, which is something we're looking at. It'll be exciting.
Very local.
It will. Uber local. Yeah, it'll be good. So look, time will tell. When we start experimenting with that yeast strain, perhaps we'll push it out to across all of our products. We can't answer that until we try.
Okay, nice. And the next one is then
the next one,
the very award-winning grain.
Yeah, so this is sourced whiskey. Okay. So like when you're starting off a new distillery like us in 2017, 2018, you have two major decisions to make. One is, are you going to go down the white spirit route? Are you going to start doing gin or vodka? Because the beauty of that is you can make it today and sell it tomorrow. We decided against that. So we sourced whiskey from Cooley Distillery. And you have to remember, our founding master distiller, our first master distiller here, Noel Sweeney, was the master distiller in Cooley. So he came here, he started with us, and we were able to source whiskey that he had made up in Cooley Distillery. So it allowed us to release single malt whiskies and single grain whiskies aged. Some of that then has continued to age. And this 15-year-old is one of those. So this is whiskey whereby majority of it is ex-bourbon barrel matured. But some of it we've taken out of a bourbon barrel at about 14 and a half years and put it into ex-Madeira casks. But second fill Madeira. So first fill had very young grain in it that was emptied, and then we put this into it because I didn't want the intensity of the Madeira, because grain whiskey is a very subtle style of whiskey. So I wanted the subtlety of the Madeira to come through, so that Christmas cake type aromas, real Christmas spice coming through. I wanted that with the Madeira, but I didn't want it to overpower the actual delicacy of the grain whiskey. So this whiskey is 94% corn or maize, 6% malted barley, distilled in a column stills to a very high strength, and then all put into first fill ex-bourbon barrels in Cooley Distillery. We have continued in the bourbon barrels, but then, as I said, taken some out and finished in Madeira. So this was launched only about a year and a half ago. It's bottled at 41.5% alcohol. And at the World Whisky Awards by Whisky magazine this year, this not only was named Ireland's best grain, but it was then named the world's best grain whisky. So we are really, really proud of it. It's a lovely sipping whisky. For me, it's a kind of summer whiskey. It's refreshing. This very much with sparkling water or soda water, lots of ice, maybe some sprigs of mint or something in it. It's a really, really refreshing way of drinking this whiskey.
This is a light one for a 15-year-old.
Yeah, it is.
It is a light one.
Yeah.
And I do like it. It has a bit of a touch of bourbon to it. Like the thing is with bourbon, it's always that caramel vanilla overpowering. They really like their whiskey sweet. With that, it's a little bit of a bourbon touch to it, but minus that, minus the overpowering sweetness to it. So it has a good amount of creaminess to it, and I like it. And it's light, and you feel the maturity, like 15 years, but as a light whiskey. Usually when you have a light whiskey, it's always like, oh, there's a bit of a new make there.
Yeah, there is. There is. And
but this one is light and 15.
Yeah, I mean, as you're aware, bourbon whiskey has to be minimum 51% 51% corn. Usually a bourbon whiskey is somewhere to 60 to 70% corn. This is 94% corn, so it has a lot of the same core ingredient. However, the difference is the bourbon whiskey will always use a brand new, freshly charred white oak.
The overpowering sweetness.
That's the sweetness, yeah. Whereas we're using ex-bourbon barrels, so a lot of the sweetness has already gone into the bourbon, and then we'll get less effect. We'll still get a creamy vanilla nature, but then we'll pull that back again by blending this with some of the whiskey that's finished in the Madeira casks. So,
and that gives you a little bit more fun in the mouth. It has a bit more. You feel a bit of tannins as well, a little bit of oak, 15 years, and a little bit of dried fruit. Yeah. So it's it's a sipping whiskey.
It is.
That's a sipping whiskey, but it's a, I would say, not normal sipping whiskey, because normally you think like single malt all the way 15 years or 18 years, but this one is a light one, and totally with all the corn. It's totally different. I like it.
And I love grain whiskies, and I think grain whiskies tend to be misunderstood generally, because traditionally, especially in Scotland, grain whiskey was only really used for the blending process. So as a result, you know, they wouldn't worry about good casks. So they'd be maybe casks that had already been used. And that's why a lot of grain whiskies in Scotland tend to be a lot older, because they need that time to get the flavour from the barrel. Whereas in Cooley Distillery, they always focused on brand new barrels every time. They used just as good barrels for malt as they did for grain. So the quality of grain whiskey coming from Cooley over the years has always been exceptional. And I've loved working with it back in my day, working for Cooley Distillery, but also here in Powerscourt, being able to mould it into a flavour that I feel reflects and is good enough to have the Fercullen name on it.
Yeah, I think the problem was really what you said. Cooling the grain was more for blend, and it was just a lot of cheap stuff out there, and that just really did a bit of they had a bit of a misunderstanding, as in they had the rumors is like grain is always cheap. You can, I mean, it's cheap to produce, don't get me wrong,
far
but
cheaper than malt.
You can still make something great out of it with great cost, but nearly nobody did that over the last, let's say from 1980 to 2000. That was just
blend,
cask, and just leave them in there a long time, third fill cask, fourth fill cask, whatever. And the numbers get then higher and higher, and everybody's like, oh, I have an 18-year-old with a fourth fill.
True.
No, but 18-year-old fourth fill can also be good.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah, anyway. But I was walking around here, and you have the waterfall, you have the estates, and the gardens, and the golf club, hotel, restaurants, and the distillery. So how is it really in summer? Is it like a little bit of a theme park?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, the estate would attract about 250,000 visitors a year. They'd be unique visitors. But then you will also get a lot of people from Dublin who'll just come down here to walk around the grounds, come down with children on bicycles or things like that. So we'll pick up a lot of people, day trippers, coming into the distillery. But then the formal bus tours who will come in and go visit the gardens, and they might get a combined ticket. So visit the gardens, and then after the gardens, come up to the distillery for a quick tour, just really a quick walk around. But it's great for us because they tend to be European visitors who know whiskey, like people from Germany or people from Scandinavia, from Sweden, some of the good whiskey drinking countries. So they come in and they'll generally pick up a few bottles. So it's good for us as well. But yeah, on a warm summer's day like this weekend coming, I'd say it'll be very busy here. And you saw the size of the car park. It's a big car park, and on a beautiful summer's day, that's full. That is full of cars and people milling around.
The day to day is really, really nice, but I think season hasn't started yet.
It hasn't started.
So I think we're really lucky.
Yeah, today's the 1st of May, so season really kicks off from today onwards.
Oh, okay, so you sell combined tickets?
We do.
Okay, you're not like you said with the split tickets where the husband goes to the distillery.
That happens as well. That does happen as well. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Or our whiskies are so light. I mean, sometimes maybe the husband goes golfing and the wife comes here to the distillery. You know, we don't differentiate.
Coming into the whiskey world, but it's traditionally the husband, and the gardens is. I mean, they're beautiful. I do like them as well. So maybe everything's mixed. But combined tickets will be great.
Yeah. But it's interesting you say things are very much changing, because I've seen it myself over the past few years. I did an Irish whiskey event in New York City about 2 years ago, and it was solely Irish whiskey. And it was the first time I had been to a whiskey tasting event or a whiskey show where the split was pretty much 50-50 male to female. So we're seeing that with the Irish category, that a lot more non-traditional whiskey drinkers are getting into Irish whiskey, which is great. So it's something that we are very, very cognizant of, and open to.
Yeah, we in Germany we tend to miss that, because we used to be fruit schnapps. And corn and vodka and from Eastern Germany, and we just got into whiskey about let's say 20 years ago, like 15 years ago. Being a whiskey nerd in Germany was really something very extraordinary. Now whiskey is known just not for the triple J's. So what was it for? Yeah, that's cool. The 4 J's you can get in the supermarket. So, and the last one is now limited edition. This is not core range.
No, not core range. So this is part of what we call the estate series. So the estate series were a series of whiskies that were really influenced by the estate. So the first one was when Noel was still here as our master distiller and blender. And the first one was called the Mill House, after the building here that the distillery is in. And the Mill House was a grain whiskey, so it was 100% grain whiskey. And Noel had it all finished in Amarone casks. And it sold very well. And then when I came in here and I was asked to come up with new whiskies for the distillery, the first one was, what's going to be number 2 in the estate series? So number 2 in the estate series, I chose a blend, and it was called the Italian Gardens, and that was a blend of malt finish in Amarone and grain whiskey, and it was a beautiful, really, really good quality blend. It ended up winning World's Best limited release whiskey at the at the World Whiskies Awards a few years ago. So then release number 3, because we had done started with a grain, the second was a blend, the third one I said let's do a malt, and let's use our own malt. So this is our own single malt whiskey, so like we tasted with number 2. However, part of it has been finished with Amarone casks. It's not a finish, that's why I think I have here Amarone cask influence, because only a percentage of it is finished in Amarone casks. Some of it is ex-bourbon, some of it is Amarone casks. So I can't call it a finish because it's not fully finished in it. But what the Amarone does is, obviously the colour itself, there is a hint of red coming through on it, but it also adds a sort of beautiful summer fruits, red fruits, whereas The single malt is all green fruits. It's apples, it's pears, it's the pastry, it's the apple strudel. This one is summer fruits. There you can get the strawberries and black currants and raspberries and some of those coming through on it. Well, still some of the green fruit in the background. Lovely creaminess, nice tannic nature as well coming through on it.
Do you know these like really, really, really red apples?
Yes, yeah,
like from a fairy tale.
Yeah.
With a bit more thicker skin and very flowery inside.
Gotcha. Yeah,
that one.
There you go. There you go. And that's the Amarone.
Yeah, that's the
Amarone wine is obviously it's a high strength, very unctuous, you almost need to chew it, that type of wine. Lots of summer fruits coming through on it. And that comes through on this whiskey. So this would be about a 4-year-old, mostly 4-year-old, no age statement on it. So relatively young, but the Amarone really just gives a different layer of intensity to this whiskey.
Do you know these wine gummy bears?
Yes, yeah. Gummy bear.
I don't want to like insult you, but they're great. And it has the minus the like sugariness of the gummy bears.
Yeah, that's a good tasting note. I'm gonna remember that one. Gummy bears. Yeah.
But the wine gummy bears that I'm not quite sure if they have wine in it, but this wine flavor, bit of that red apple note in there. Although I have it more in the nose than in the taste, and it's 46. Yeah,
that is 46.
Yeah, it is more powerful than that. And I like it, and it is a bit fresh. You realize it's not like limited, very old, but it has that fresh note, fresh fruitiness with just a pick of orchard and winery.
Yeah, and as I said, it is a limited release. We only made it the once, so whatever you have available in whiskies.de, that's all there is. You know, you won't
I
be
think it is available currently. I'm not quite sure when this video will come out, so be quick.
Check it.
Be quick if you want one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're through.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So thank you very much for this overview, for the whiskey, for the tour, everything.
Great.
So it was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was lovely. And thank you very much for watching. And if you're interested in the Fercullen whiskey, have a look at Whisky.com, Whisky.de if you live in Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, Austria or Switzerland. And thank you very much for watching. Share this video and thank you and see you next time.